Can get started. Are we missing anybody?
Right here.
The only person I don't see that I would normally see is Bruce Zartler, and I think he just got on.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
Yep.
There he is.
Yep, I see him now.
Ernie's muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, thanks, Ernie.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to get started. This is Trustee Melissa Nettermeyer, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm sitting in for Mayor Carpino tonight, who could not be here. The date is Thursday, May 28th, 2020. The time is 7:02 p.m. This is the Village Board meeting for Willow Springs. We are meeting again by Zoom due to the shelter-in-place order. As I said, the time is 7:03. Can we please call the roll?
Trustee Burks,
Here.
Kennedy,
Here.
Nettermeyer,
Here.
Tosh,
Here.
Moon,
Here.
Carr.
Here.
Thank you, Clerk Manalo.
I'm not done. President Carpino. Roll call complete.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
Sure.
Let's all please say together the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United
United
States of
States of
America
America
and
and
to
to
the
the
republic
republic for which it
Which
stands, one nation,
Under
under
God,
God,
Individual.
with
with
Liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First up tonight, we have presentations. This is the public hearing for the 2020 to 2021 Budget and Appropriation Ordinance. Administrator Woods is going to guide us through a presentation of that budget this evening.
Thank
Can
you.
I-
Go ahead.
Brent, could you maybe mute everybody but you through this presentation?
It's a little difficult to do that.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So thank you, Madam President. I'm going to put up on the screen the PowerPoint. So anybody who's logged in should be able to see that if you're logged in with a computer. I'll start with the process that we started. We started this process in November and early December with departmental budget meeting with the department heads, and they gave me their budget requests. Then after that, the treasurer did some review on them. I did some review on them. That was our initial review. Then we come to February and March. We did some more budget review and follow-up meetings with the department heads. And then that's when we started the shelter-in-place orders right around the April and mid-May. So there were more various meetings between administrative staff, the finance director, and it was a final review. The tentative budget was made available at Village Hall for public review and on our website. Then following that, I held a meeting with Chairman Posh, Treasurer Zabinski, and myself. We went over, made some adjustments to it. That's our typical meeting we have with the finance chairman. There were some changes made to it, and that brings us to here. You'll notice on the slideshow presentation, I have July 16th as the approval of the budget and appropriation ordinance. I am going to request this evening that the board postpone approval of the budget until the July 16th meeting, as Right now, the revenue estimates it's a moving target. It's like throwing a dart against the wall right now. We won't have a clearer picture of what our revenues will actually be until July. So this budget will still undergo some changes. So I would request that while we're having the public hearing this evening, that we postpone approval until the July 16th meeting, at which time we'll give a brief detail of any changes that were made. Right now, we do have some funding for infrastructure improvements. We had to scale back a little bit on our road program. We are going to maintain staffing levels in all departments, no new hires. And we did reduce spending to account for loss of revenues due to COVID-19 shutdown, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. The infrastructure improvements that were always our priority. We were able to budget $210,000 for road repairs and resurfacing, which is roughly $50,000 to $60,000 less than we budgeted last year. And we have $100,000 for various sewer upgrades and lift station improvements throughout the town. The summary right now, as it stands, we're looking at, if you can see this on your screen. Can everybody see this, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're looking at a corporate fund projected deficit of $74,816, a sewer fund surplus of just north of 48.5, motor fuel tax fund deficit of just south of 68,000. Commuter parking fund will have about a $2,100 surplus. The E911 fund will be about $9,000 surplus, and the non-home rule sales tax fund will have about $1,000 surplus, projected surplus. Now moving on to the Administrative Services Department. Basically, what we did was scheduled for the salary and benefit cost increases, which includes estimating about a 10% increase in health insurance benefit costs. And you'll see the previous budget was $1.44 million. We actually spent out of the administrative services $1.35, and we're going to budget $1.39. In the police department, our priorities are maintaining current staffing levels, maintaining the training budget, and we will not be able to include any new vehicle purchases for this year. You'll see we budgeted $2.78 million. It went a little over at $2.95 million, but that was what you won't see in this presentation here is, or in the budget as you look at it, is that a lot of those costs were for special details, like our traffic unit, which has generated $100,000 additional dollars into the general fund. So it may look like a big overspend, but it's because we added revenue generating details. We also added a school resource officer, which the expense you see here, but what you won't necessarily see is we get reimbursed for 100% of that cost by the school. So this year we are going to budget $2.7 million for the police department. I've worked with the chief. He's come up with some scheduling, some new scheduling ideas, which he's going to put into place, which is going to save us quite a bit of money, which is why we only need to go to $2.7 million. Where did I go? Oh, Public Works. Public Works is, we budgeted 1.7. We spent 1.6, a little over 1.6 million, and we're going to budget. We spent 1.67 million, and we're going to budget 1.63. Working with Keith, we were able to cut out a lot of items that were not going to be necessary for this year, which is why the budget would be less than the actual spend from last year. Overall, last year's budget was 6.2 million, and this year's budget is 6.125 million, not including the TIF fund. which is about a $75,000 reduction in the budgeted amount. And again, I'm going to ask that we put this aside until I'll under the attorney's report. The ordinance will be on there, but we are. I'm going to ask for a motion to postpone consideration of the budget until July 16th. So at this point, the public hearing would be open for questions. How do you want to do it? Do you want to do the questions from the board first and then the public?
Yes, let's do it that way.
Okay, are there any questions from board members? I know I've spoken very, very frequently with all of the trustees that contacted me with their questions and comments on the budget. They were all incorporated. We have discussed it at length with many of you. So are there any further questions?
We can talk again before the 16th of July, right?
Yes. We, again, if the trustees have further questions or concerns or issues, anytime before the 16th, can address them.
Okay.
Please understand, this extension was my request. I really would hate to pass. It's very difficult. Once you tell people you have so much money, it's very difficult to tell them not to spend it. So we really want to adjust the budget if we know the revenue shortfalls are going to be more than what we've currently projected. We really won't know how much we're losing in sales tax until next week. So we're asking for that extension because I really hate to put something out here and then have it come back and now I don't have that much. So that's why I'm asking.
Yes.
And
Fair
this will
enough.
only go down. I can't add to it. So whatever is there right now, that will be the maximum we will budget for. Any changes we make will be drops. We will not ask for more.
Are there any questions, any other questions from the board?
Okay, I'm going to stop the screen share now so I can monitor anybody that is in chat. If you, I'm sorry, are we ready for the public?
Yes, let's open it up to
Okay.
public questions.
Okay, so if there's anyone from the public, and you can use the raise hand function by hovering over your name and selecting raise hand, or you can type in the chat that you'd like to say something, or to, you know, as a safe measure, I can go, I guess, one by one and ask people.
I can tell you, Brent, that when I hover over my name, I don't get an option to raise my hand. Underneath the list of people, I have an option.
Okay.
Maybe some of the other board members have other options that I'm not seeing.
I have the same one as you, Mary Jane.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, well, then maybe we should kind of go one by one here.
Brent?
Yes.
Fred,
Yes, Fred.
if you're on your phone, if you're on your phone, you can star 6 to unmute yourself.
Well, you can't unmute yourself. I have to unmute you.
Well, yeah, because I'm not on computer, I'm on phone.
Right. Okay,
Okay.
so let me go, Madam President, would you, should I go in order here and just
Yes, please.
ask? Okay. Carol Valdez, do you have anything?
Yes, you had said something about the TIF, but I didn't catch quite what that was.
No, the TIF, the TIF budget is not included in this budget document. I mean, it's not included in this presentation. For questions on the TIF, I'll refer to Kelly.
No, when you were giving your thing, you said something about TIF. I didn't know if it was.
I said the TIF, right, I said the TIF. I said the TIF was not in here, was not in this. The 6.2 million was exclusive of TIF funds.
Okay, and do you know, as of right now, since everything is a stay-at-home, how much money the village has lost as of right now? Or you won't know that till next week?
We won't know.
We won't know. We don't know. I mean, we have some revenue streams we've identified. You know, I could, you know, I don't have them in the top of my head, but like, we know that restaurants are making about 20% of what they made before. So that means my sales taxes are down, and that's for restaurants that are open. The state, the Restaurants Association in Illinois did a survey 3 or 4 weeks into the stay-at-home order, and with the exception of Dunkin' Donuts will be probably in the 50 to 60% of their normal, but Capri, the little restaurant on Archer, I can't think of its name, they're averaging 20% of their sales. So my sales taxes are looking at probably 20% of what they were for the time that they're closed. I have zero gaming revenue, zero, nothing. And we will not know the effective income tax, and this is from the Illinois Municipal League, at least 9 months out before we'll know.
Okay.
So unfortunately, it's a guessing game right now. Nobody knows.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you knew, like, if you went month by month, okay, this month we lost this much, this month we lost this much. I wasn't sure quite how it was figured.
Understand something. When you go to a restaurant today, the village doesn't get the sales tax that you pay at that restaurant until 3 months after today.
Okay.
That's the cycle. So, okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Carol. I might add as well that, you did add about the gaming revenues being zero. We don't have any gaming. We don't know when they're going to open up. And again, the numbers that are on this budget don't necessarily mean that's what we're going to spend. We have to couple that with our revenue streams. So if our revenues that we're estimating now are 80% of what we're estimating them to be, then we have to watch our spending and hold it to 80%. Okay, next, let's see, I got Carol. Greg, did you have anything?
No,
Greg.
I'm good.
Okay. Ian. If Ian wants to say something, he can unmute himself. I just asked to unmute. Okay. The person signed in as iPad. You have anything?
No.
Thank you, sir. Joanne, do you have anything in regards to the budget hearing?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. Kathy, anything in regards to the budget hearing?
Nope, nothing, thank you.
Okay. Mary, I asked Mary to unmute. If she has anything, she may unmute. Okay. Sean, nothing. I have, well, I'll unmute Trustee Carr. The person signed, logged in on phone, where are we at? Phone number 243-6616. Do you have anything?
No.
Okay, thank you. Phone number 259-4106. Do you have anything? Okay. And finally, phone number 330-4045. Anything? Okay. No. Okay, that concludes the list of people, Madam President.
Thank you, Brent. And thank you everybody for your patience as we go through and navigate this way, meeting by Zoom. Is there anything else on our public hearing for the budget appropriation?
And again, if anybody that has any questions and can't figure the raise hand, we will accept written questions or verbal questions over the phone at the Village Hall at any time.
Brent, can I ask you something?
Sure, go ahead.
I know I'm going to be asked by my employees the raise effect that we're going at to the budget has passed.
It will go in after the budget is passed, but it will be retroactive to the beginning
No
of the
problem.
fiscal year.
No problem. Just so I know I'm gonna be asked that, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, if that concludes our presentation of the public hearing for the budget and appropriation, we will move on to our next item, disposition of previous minutes. The board has in their board pack the committee and board meeting minutes from April 23rd, 2020. I need a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make that.
Please state your name when making a motion.
Moon. Trustee Moon.
Thank you, Trustee Moon. A motion by Trustee Moon. Is there a second?
Second.
I think I heard a second by Trustee Kennedy. Is that right?
Yes.
Is there any discussion about the minutes?
No.
There being none, can we please do a roll call vote, Clerk Manila?
Yes. Trustee Burks,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Nettermeyer,
Aye.
Posh,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Carr.
Aye.
That ends the roll call.
Thank you. Motion carries and the minutes are approved. We'll move now to the reports of the village officials. The first is that of the village president. I'll handle that report tonight. Our last meeting was April 23rd. We continue to be under the governor's shelter-in-place order. That's why we meet by Zoom. But the village has been taking the necessary precautions to stop the spread, and services have remained fully operational. Adjustments have been made, but services have not been compromised. So bravo to the village staff, the police department, and the public works department. A week and a half ago, we saw record rainfall cause major flooding in our area. It was the most I've seen in my 30+ years here in Willow. The village, our waste haulers, and our public works department have been working cooperatively to help the residents with the cleanup from the devastating flooding. Tomorrow, we'll move into phase 3 of the governor's reopening plan. Most businesses here in town will be open with the guidelines and restrictions. Administrator Woods has been working with the businesses to help this transition, and perhaps he can elaborate on that more during his report. As things begin to open up, please continue to follow the guidelines. From what I've seen, our community has been very cooperative and responsible. We have 29 positive COVID cases of 288 tested. A month ago at our Zoom meeting, we had 8. But this is still much fewer than many of our neighboring towns. So let's continue to stay safe. The village organized a mask distribution last Thursday, but we have supplies remaining. If you need PPE or other assistance, as we've said in the past, please contact Village Hall and we will do our best to help you. And please pass this message along to neighbors who may not be on social media or attending our Zoom meetings. I look forward to when we can meet in the boardroom again and see one another. But finally, congratulations to all of the graduates in town. I can imagine that this milestone is a mix of emotions coinciding with the COVID crisis, but we congratulate them and wish them all the best. That concludes the President's report. We'll move now to the Administrator's report. Brent Woods.
Thank you, Madam President. The first item I have is the authorization to purchase a 2013 Ford Explorer and a John Deere, I think it's a zero-turn mower.
Yes.
From the Justice Willow Springs Water Commission. They surplused it today, and for both the zero-turn mower and the Ford Explorer, I realize it is within my spending authority, but I committed that I wouldn't acquire any new property on behalf of the village without the consent first. So I would be asking for authorization to spend an amount not to exceed $10,545 to acquire the Ford Explorer and the John Deere mower.
Just a correction, it's the Justice Willow Springs Water Commission we're buying it from?
Yes.
Not the Willow Springs? Okay.
Is there a motion to authorize that purchase?
So moved. It's Carr.
Thank you, Trustee Carr. Is there a second?
Moon, second.
We'll say a second by Trustee Moon. Is there any discussion about the authorization?
I got a question, not so much about the authorization, but did we ever receive the vehicles from the chemical plant down Archer. That was supposed to be part of the settlement, right?
Yeah, we received their contribution. So we did receive that last year. However, we ordered the 2 squad cars
Okay.
last year, and they have not arrived yet. I know I have been on them. Deputy Chief Giorgetti's been on them, and the chief has been on them. And in fact, the chief, I can unmute the chief if he wants to pipe in on it. I asked him to unmute.
I think,
We're waiting for him.
shouldn't we finalize this motion on the John Deere tractor?
Well, not until all the questions. We're still,
really?
yeah, once the questions are all answered. So at any rate, the vehicles have not arrived yet. And then when they were going to production, what was explained to me was that there was a recall on them. So they had to go back to the drawing board, and then COVID hit and they closed down the plants, and now they just reopened, I guess.
But these are two different issues.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, right. Somebody asked about the
Right.
the cars or not.
Is there any further discussion on the authorization to purchase these 2 vehicles not to exceed $10,545? There being none, can we take a roll call vote?
Yes. Trustee Burks,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Nettlemeyer,
Aye.
Tosh,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Carr.
Aye.
That completes the roll call.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item I have is, as you had stated, I have been working with the businesses in anticipation of this opening. And we have, I was out visiting all the restaurants and bars in town to deliver the state's guidelines and packet along with a letter from us, and I provided them with a supply of 50 masks, face masks for each one. Bruce and I will be going around tomorrow to all of them that have put up tents, just to inspect the tents for safety. We are not charging the businesses for an inspection fee on that. We're just going to go around and check them, make sure they're safe, secure, and up to specs. Most of them are very, very excited to be opening up, and they're hoping that it's going to be a big success. And I urge everyone to go visit the businesses tomorrow and have a dining outside.
Brett, could you please explain what that they can dine outside, but they have to be in a tent? Is that correct?
No. They can have the tables outside. They can have a tent, which most of them are doing. And that's what we're going to be inspecting.
Okay.
They just have to have the tables have to be 6 feet apart.
Good.
The staff has to be wearing masks. If they enter the building, if the patrons enter the building to use the washroom, they have to wear a mask while they're using the washroom. And I think we have 2 or 3 that are going to be putting up tents. But we're going to know exactly who's going to be putting up tents tomorrow, but they're not required to put up a tent.
Okay.
And they will have
Also
masks
only-
for the customers, correct?
I'm sorry, say again, trustee?
They will have masks for the customers that want to use the bathrooms, right?
Yes, they will have masks for that.
Okay.
Also, no more than 50% of the tent can be side skirted for airflow.
Airflow, correct. The mayor of Orland Park crafted a letter that he is a 3-page letter that he's sending to the governor, and he's asking for the municipalities to sign on, asking all the other mayors to sign on to it. Basically, the letter is asking them to move right into allowing indoor dining and indoor patrons up to 50% of regular capacity. And it's under the governor's current plan, all the suburban towns, including Willow Springs, are lumped in with the city of Chicago in terms of a zone and area. And he's requesting that we be ungrouped from them. And it was a very well crafted letter. I just received it. I will provide a copy to everybody. I'll put it on the website for everybody to see. Mayor Carpino contacted me yesterday and asked me to arrange for him to sign on to it, and it has been done. Are there any questions on the report? Okay, that will conclude my report, Madam President.
Thank you. Report of the village clerk, Clerk Manella.
Thank you very much. I will start out with some good news. I have a census report from the Census Department. The current, as of 5/27, we have a 67.1% response rate to the census in Lyons Township overall, and a 75.7% response rate in Willow Springs specifically. So we're doing very well in terms of census response. Please encourage your families, friends, neighbors to go ahead and respond to the census. On a less fun note, Willow Fest is not going to take place this year. Unfortunately, we've had to cancel that event as it's going to be too close to when other events may or may not be opened up. We don't want to go ahead and put a lot of planning and expense into an event that might ultimately be canceled. On a similar note, the Rendezvous, the River Through History event in September, is also going to be canceled this year. In terms of the clerk's office, I would like to report that the clerk's office has been operating pretty much and under normal conditions, with the exception that rather than having folks come into the village hall, we have them dropping things in the drop box, emailing them to us, or mailing them to us. The vehicle stickers have been mailed out this year. That has been going very, very smoothly. We haven't really had a lot of problems. The clerk's office has been handling phones from home, as well as during the times that they're in the office. We intend to go back to having the office open to the public on Tuesday the 2nd with obvious restrictions and social distancing guidelines in place. That concludes my clerk's report. In terms of the Justice Willow Springs Water Commission, I'm going to read you the most recent May of 2020 Executive Director's Report. You will receive a copy of this for the next board meeting in your packet, but I think that at least the beginning of this is very relevant to our most recent incident. So on May 4th, 2020, at approximately 1 p.m., a contractor working for the Illinois Tollway under the 294-mile-long expansion project damaged a crucial 20-inch water main that is the only water main that feeds Willow Springs from the Justice Willow Springs Water Commission pumping station. The water main had a 20-inch cap on the water main back in the late 1980s for possible expansion. During construction, this contractor removed the concrete blocking, which was in place to hold this cap on the water main. Immediately, the cap blew off due to the amount of pressure this specific water main is under daily. The damage was immediate. Within 4 minutes, the commission lost approximately 750,000 gallons of storage in the Willow Springs high tank, and customers immediately lost water pressure. An estimated amount of water that was being lost when this cap was released was approximately 3,500 gallons per minute. The Justice Willow Springs Water Commission crew immediately jumped into action, isolated the damaged water main, and interconnected to the village of Burr Ridge to feed sufficient water to Willow Springs within 1 hour. Due to the lack of pressure that is mandated by the IEPA, as a precautionary measure, it was determined to enforce a boil order. Samples were taken, and within 24 hours, the boil order was lifted. The damage, water loss, and inconvenience to the customers of the Justice Willow Springs Water Commission was a major concern and was addressed to the contractor and the Illinois Tollway that restitution must be made. So rather than reading the rest of this, I want to basically let the board know that the Water Commission is working directly with the Tollway to get a very large restitution for all of the damages that were caused by this. Okay, this is currently being negotiated and should be handled very soon. As I said, I will give you guys the full letter in your next packet, but I wanted to at least comment on that water loss. The other thing I want to comment on rather than reading 3 more paragraphs, is that in an overabundance of caution, to make sure that while they're doing this construction, we don't have any more of these issues, we are remaining on the Burr Ridge Loop so that they can do their work with, and the contractor asked the Water Commission to do that in order to make sure they don't cause any kind of a similar problem. So the last item that was in there was that a discussion on the rate increase coming from the city of Chicago, which the Water Commission, along with other agencies, asked to have delayed or not implemented because of the current economic circumstances. And as of today, actually, the city of Chicago came back and said that they would, in fact, go ahead and implement that rate change. But the Water Commission had already decided that we will not do anything with any kind of a rate change, at least into the fall. So does anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I just want you to tell the Water Commission employees they did a fantastic job.
Thank you, Ernie. I appreciate that. For them to get the water back up within an hour, I thought was pretty amazing. So
very good.
Mary Jane,
yes.
I have a resident on Buckingham and Province. They a couple months back we fixed a main break back there. There's still a big hole in the ground.
Okay.
And they've tried, they've been told it's Public Works, I know, has looked at it, and it was a water department, and they're still waiting for the water department to come out and fix this hole. These people have kids, and they're worried that the kids could fall in it.
Sure. After the meeting, Tom, I'll connect with you, and you can give me that exact address.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, barring no questions, that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the report of the village engineer, Dan Lynch.
Thank you, Madam President. I would just like to report that we are in the process of putting together bid documents for the road program for the year, and that is progressing well. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Great, thanks. Village Attorney, Eric Peck.
Thank you, Madam President. The first item under the village attorney's report this evening is consideration of a draft ordinance authorizing the disposal of village-owned surplus property. This draft ordinance would permit the village administrator to sell, auction, or donate the following property: a 2013 Harley-Davidson motorcycle, a second 2013 Harley-Davidson motorcycle, a 2006 our trailer, and then a 2007 John Deere 724 tractor. Those 4 items could be sold or auctioned off pursuant to this ordinance, should you wish to pass it this evening.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve ordinance 2020-0-15, the ordinance authorizing to dispose of the village-owned surplus vehicles.
So moved, Burks.
Second, Moon.
We have a first by trustee Burks and a second by trustee Moon. Any discussion about this? There being none, Clerk Manella, can we take a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Burks?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Nedemeyer?
Aye.
Posh?
Aye.
Moon?
Aye.
Carr?
Aye.
That completes the roll.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And the second item was consideration of the draft ordinance approving the budget. And as the administrator and the treasurer had suggested, if you would be inclined, you could entertain a motion to continue this matter to the July
16th.
16th village board meeting.
Right. On the suggestion of the village treasurer and village administrator, I'd like to ask for a motion to postpone ordinance 2020-0-16, the ordinance providing for a budget and appropriation for the fiscal year of 2020 to 2021 to the meeting of July 16th.
So moved.
So moved.
We have a motion, it sounds like, by trustee Carr, and the second was by
Posh, I heard.
trustee Posh. Any discussion
Yes.
about this? Okay, let's please take a roll call vote. Clerk Nell.
Trustee Burks,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Nettermeyer,
Aye.
Posh,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Carr.
Aye.
That completes the roll.
And motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's all I have this evening, Madam President.
Great. Moving on to reports of the standing committees. Building and Zoning Committee, Trustee Carr.
Thank you. We had an active month in April, 26 permits issued, total construction cost of little over $500,000, $551,355, for total permit cost of $14,286. For the year, that brings us up to 56 permits issued, over $1 million in construction value, $1,022,762. Total permit fees of $32,292. That concludes the report.
Thank you, Trustee Carr. Finance and Administration Committee, Trustee Posh.
Thank you, Madam President. I have two items tonight for approval of payroll and warrants. The first one dated May 14th, 2020. I'm still here.
Yeah.
Payroll and payroll expenses in the amount of $87,759.90. All fund expenses in the amount of $184,768.48 for a total expenditure of $272,528.38. And I would like to make a motion to approve the payroll and warrants dated May 14th, 2020.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the motion by Trustee Posh to approve those warrants. Is there a second?
Second, Kennedy.
We'll say second by Trustee Kennedy. Any discussion about these? Can we please take a roll call vote?
Trustee Burks,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Nettermeyer,
Aye.
Posh,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Carr.
Aye.
That completes the roll.
Thank you. All ayes. Motion to approve the warrants for May 14th, 2020 carries.
Thank you. My second item is for payroll and warrants for May 28th, 2020. Payroll and payroll expenses in the amount of $85,930.61. All fund expenses in the amount of $158,728.25 for total expenditures of $244,658.86. And I would like to make the motion to approve the warrants and payrolls for May 28th.
Okay, we've got the motion from Trustee Carr. Second.
I'll second that, Moon.
Second by Trustee Moon. Any discussion about these warrants? There being none, can we please take a roll call vote?
Trustee Burks,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Nettermeyer,
Aye.
Posh,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Carr.
Aye.
That completes the roll.
Thank you. Motion to approve the warrants for May 28th, 2020 carries. Does that conclude your report, Trustee Posh?
Thank you, Madam President. It does.
Thank you. Moving on to License and Franchise Committee, Trustee Moon.
At this time, we have no new license or franchise applications, Madam President. That'll conclude my report.
Okay. Municipal Buildings and Grounds, Trustee Kennedy.
I have no report tonight, but I would just like to add a congratulations to the graduates of 2020. And with the opening, with all the businesses in town, just try to be responsible as you can. And please respect people's distances and support our businesses as you can. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Kennedy. Moving on to Public Safety. That's me, Trustee Nettermeyer. The most obvious public safety issue right now is COVID-19, which I covered much of in the President's report. So I'll move on to the agenda item before us. That is an approval of an IGA between the Village of Willow Springs and the Drug Enforcement Agency. In our board packs, we have an IGA between Willow Springs Police Department and the DEA for their use of one officer to participate in their task force to fight the war on drugs in our area. The greater Chicago area is seeing a spike in opiate-related deaths and some bad drugs turning up, the deadliest being meth, heroin, and then fentanyl, which you've probably heard a lot about in the news. The village was involved in a DEA task force that resulted in $1 million of forfeiture funds to the village. As many of us are aware, unfortunately, those funds were grossly misused by the previous administration, so bad that Willow Springs was kicked out of the program and forced to give the money back. This IGA reinstates Willow Springs into the program. We stand to have many positive outcomes, including forfeiture funds, grant money, and training. So that being said, I'm asking for a motion to approve and affirm.
I've got.
There'll be discussion in a minute, Trustee Burks. I'm just asking for the motion to approve and affirm an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Willow Springs and the DEA.
I'll make that motion, Kennedy.
Thank you, Trustee Kennedy. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Posh, second.
Thanks, Trustee Posh. Now we're open for discussion.
Right. I thought we had a discussion on this, that with the loss of revenue that we're getting, that to put an officer on this detail costs us more because we have to fill his times, his shifts with part-timers, costing us extra money. And I'm not as optimistic as other people because I don't believe they will not give us anything in writing that we are in that program. And
I think the agreement itself says that we're in the program.
And I've been told we'll get 5% or 10%. We don't know what. We've had one DAG that was $90,000, which if we're only getting 5%, that's only $4,500.
Chief Fritz, maybe you can speak to that. Do we know if it's 5% or 10%? We'd have to unmute him.
Melissa, I'm sorry, because I was listening there. We won't know the percentage until it is. It all depends on the participation of each officer involved with that, and it goes through a process through the equitable sharing through the Department of Justice. So, and that's for our officer to get a DAG in that short of a time. It was a nice work by our officer assigned there, and he's working a number of other major cases on that should benefit the village greatly in the near future.
I mean, does Kelly have any input as far as how this affects the budget of paying the police? Is it costing us extra?
Okay, so the short answer is currently right now it is costing us more money because the maximum amount that we're getting out of this IGA is about 20 grand. And then we will get percentages of the DAG. The recommendation that I made to the village administrator was to put a line in the sand, okay, and basically give an end date as to when we're committing this guy to, unless we see more revenues. Because the benefit of the DEA program that I've seen in other towns, because Justice has somebody there and Summit has somebody there, is that you're able to get a lot more of your equipment and supporting items paid for with your DEA money versus, you can use it for overtime, but you can't use it for salaries. It can supplant the budget, but it can't supplement the budget, which basically means I can't go in and take something out of the budget intentionally and force it, but you're able to get stuff that you wouldn't normally be able to get. But there has to come a point in time where if we're really not getting a bunch of DAGs, then we really need to evaluate the long term. My recommendation was to put the line in the sand and, 1 year, 2 year, 4 year, and figure out what you're willing to risk in order to have the potential. there's not an easy answer. It's not like I can go, yeah, 2 years is a great time frame. Well, for the last 2 months, we really haven't been doing much DEA work.
And
So,
I
so
understand.
it's a struggle. So I basically told the administrator to work with the chief to come up with a timeline that we believe would give us a real picture about how well we're going to do in the program.
Well, Kelly, there wasn't much DEA work because I reassigned the officer back to help us out during the COVID.
Right.
And
It's my understanding that they've been pretty cooperative when we've needed to bring him back. They have allowed us to do so.
Oh, absolutely. They're the DEA group supervisor and the head of the DEA office has been absolutely supportive of it when I brought him back the first time, where he was using flex days to work here to save us on overtime. And then I totally pulled him back here for a period of almost a month and a half before reassigning him back. And all our shifts are covered with the same amount of personnel as prior to, because I, due to the economic hit that the village has taken, readjusted staffing schedule levels on each of the shifts, and all the way up through the month of June. And we, as it's hard to evaluate what's going on with the state and in the national emergency, so that's going to be a month-by-month basis on scheduling reviews and staffing levels.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Trustee Boone, I would like to say that originally I thought it was maybe a waste of money to put him in there, but the more that I think the chief and possibly the mayor and Posh, I know, got involved, talked to the DA, I have to look at it as this. We did a hell of a bad disjustice with the previous administration with the DEA. And we really had a bad name out there as Willow Springs. I think the chief and those involved have done a hell of a job to get with the DA and get them to allow us to restart this program. And so that's why I feel we should keep him in there and, draw a line in the sand, whatever months or years, whatever. But I think it's important. And my understanding was there's a big one coming down that we'll be making quite a bit of money off of also. So my vote is that we keep him in there.
And to piggyback off of Trustee Moon, it's not just with the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration. The previous administration, through an audit through the Office of the Inspector General, as it was told to me, is that they were declared ineligible because of mismanagement and misappropriation of funds of the equitable sharing funds. And that's why they were declared, the village was declared ineligible. And we worked hard and a lot of conversations and guarantees and restructuring of the program where we became eligible, where the village can now, again, receive equitable sharing funds through the Department of Justice. So it just wasn't the DEA, it was also working with the Department of Justice to become eligible again.
I personally think you did a heck of a job of working with them to get us back eligible.
Thank you. Well, we're all in this together, and it's a tremendous benefit to the department, again, to have someone reassigned back to DEA, and also to, that they put their faith in us to become eligible again, which again tremendously benefits our department, and it's going to benefit the village in the long run. When we were receiving the supplemental funding through the Department of Justice and the Equitable Sharing Program.
And it's now our obligation to make sure that the internal control mistakes that happened in the past don't happen going forward.
And
the former administration could have stayed in if they came up with the $800,000 they misspent. Right. But they didn't have the $800,000 they misspent. And so, the fact is that it's our obligation, and we have to have the diligence to make sure we're filing and spending the money in accordance with the rules and guidelines of the DEA. So That's
There was a
that's
lot
our
more.
business.
Yeah, there was a lot more to it than just misspending of the funds. There was mismanagement of it and a whole myriad of other things that that put the village at that time in an ineligible status.
Right.
And that was the guarantee that I gave the Department of Justice that I would have total oversight of it, and I had to do a lot of stuff to show them the changes that were made and to guarantee of them that there wouldn't be any mismanagement and lack of control or misuse of spending and ineligible spending, non-permissible spending, and it was a myriad of a lot of things, like I said.
Also now, and they will be paying the overtime for the officer, or
Yes,
or
sir.
we will? Up to a certain amount, right?
Yes. And that was part of the agreement when we put into it that he's not going to go over that amount, that established amount on the overtime.
All right.
The cap was put on by us, right?
Yes, that was part of my agreement to
Right.
work between our department, the village, and the Department of Justice.
Thank you, Chief.
Well, the cap that's memorialized in the agreement was put in by the DEA, but the cap that the chief is speaking of was part of the agreement that he made with the officer going in.
Correct. That's what I was getting at is once he reaches their cap, we're not going to pay any more than that.
No.
Is what I'm trying to Tom, it's not going to cost us any more because he's also capped by us. Yeah. Thank you.
And I will be meeting, sitting down with the chief to come up with a reasonable timeline or line in the sand, reasonable for everyone. The chief and I will be working on the requirements for the expenditure of any money out of that fund. It's going to require signatures of myself and the chief. Kelly will also be on the account, but that will be it.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to interject one thing.
Who is it?
This is Carr. You have to look back at history in the village. Way, way, way long time ago, 16 years ago or so, I assigned Mike Giorgetti to the DEA, and he brought upon some amazing results to this community. Brought in a ton of money. History shows that. You can't dispute it. Things happen from other administrations that we have no control over. But it's been shown in history that this program can bring tons of benefits to the community. And like any business, you don't start out running. You start out walking, then you start jogging, then you start running. And that's what I see happening here. And you can't look short-sighted and say, oh, we're going to lose $10,000 this year. We're going to make $10,000. Is it worth it for that? You have to look at the broad range. And history has shown that it works for this community. And I applaud our chief for all the hard work he's done in bringing this back to us. And I just have to say, I approve 100% of going forward on this. I'm also fine with drawing a line in the sand. If it doesn't prove to bring benefits, I'm willing to walk away from it, but you have to give it a chance. And I'm more than willing to do that, and I hope the rest are also.
And Trustee Carr, I'm totally in support of you. If I didn't find it to be beneficial, to our department and the village with that line in the sand, I'd be the first one to say it didn't work out and bring him back.
Yeah, cut your losses and move
exactly.
on.
Exactly.
Well, I just don't exude your faith in the Department of Justice because of the past. So that's my issue.
Well, the Department of Justice, anything they did to exclude us from this wasn't the officer's problem. It was the administration's problem. So I have total confidence in the Department of Justice. So.
Thank you, Trustee Carr.
I
Okay.
think the Department of Justice did their job, what they needed to do. I don't think it was an issue of anything else other than them doing their jobs. And thank you, Trustee Carr, for what you said. I think you're spot on with what you said.
All right, guys, are we ready for a vote on this issue?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
Can we please take a roll call vote on the motion to approve the IGA between, I'm sorry, a motion to approve and affirm the IGA between Willow Springs and the DEA?
So moved.
Second, move,
Oh, we
second.
had the motion. We're doing the roll call.
I'm sorry, I have a
Oh.
motion by Kennedy and a second by Moon. I can call a roll.
Yes, please.
Wow.
Okay. Trustee Burks,
Nay.
Trustee Kennedy,
Aye.
Trustee Nedemeyer,
Aye.
Osh,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Carr.
Aye.
That ends the roll.
Thank you. The motion carries. Let's move on to, I'm sorry, is there anything else under Public Safety Committee Chief? Anything you'd like to add?
I'd just like to thank the public for all their support, our public and our business community for all the kind support and donations during this COVID-19 pandemic. We've had a lot of gifts of food and a lot of people stepping up that have donated much needed personal protective equipment to our department with hand sanitizers, protective gloves, protective shields, and it was real short on that equipment to many departments throughout the state and the country. And we'd really like, on behalf of the department, to thank our community residents, our business partners for their outstanding donations during these difficult times for everybody. And as the trustees said, please go out and support our businesses. There's many people that have gone through a rough time over the last couple of months and unemployed and not being able to work and having their businesses. So show their support 110% like many have done with us. And just the last thing too, again, when national tragedies happen and emergencies, there's always people that like to prey on us and come up with some type of scams. Please, please, please be aware of all the email scams, the phone scams, and also, I get them text messages and emails, people trying to take advantage of us and sell personal protective equipment that's not certified or knockoffs. And if you have any questions on what to buy, go right to the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, and they'll give you a list of legitimate businesses and where you can purchase any type of personal protective equipment, because all too often, too many people get ripped off from these scams. So please, please be careful. And if you have any questions, please call us at the department anytime.
Okay, thank you. Before we move on to Public Works, I'm going to quickly give my Beautification Commission report, if that's okay. Beautification Commission has been busy. They have two main projects that I want to discuss. The first was a lending library, which you may have noticed or seen posts about on social media. It's been erected at the bus stop at the corner of Archer and Willow Springs Road. It's sponsored by the Main Street Association of Realtors along with the commission, and Willow Springs resident Larry Walsh donated his time and materials to design and build the library. So it's there for all the residents to use. Check it out if you can, and thank you to everyone who was a part of it. The second project is another big one, the Legacy Garden Park. This is a garden park with garden boxes. It will open June 3rd, and the applications are available on the village website to reserve these boxes. Along with that application is the guidelines for operating in the garden park through COVID. So if you feel so inclined, please grab an application and sign up for a garden box. This was also co-sponsored by the Main Street Association of Realtors and the Beautification Commission. Its commissioners worked really hard on it, so thank you for that. And Public Works helped with the construction as well. So this is an exciting, positive addition to our community. Hope to see you at the garden. And it's nice that during this time we can still operate it and open it while practicing social distancing. It's something for people to get out in the community and do while we're still under this take shelter order. Those are the two things that I wanted to report on for the Beautification Commission. So we will move on to Public Works Committee. Trustee Burks.
I want to commend the Public Works Department for their excellent work during this time, and especially with all the rain, the heat we've had. They've taken care of all the the parks, the areas, and they're doing an exceptional job. Other than that, if Keith's got anything to add, I know we've been picking up branches too.
I got a couple things, Missy. On Tom, with that Buckingham water project, I talked to Colleen. They're supposed to be out next week to do that. They've been tied up with the water main break by the tollway. They said they would be out next week to restore that property on Buckingham. For the next month, I'm hoping it's only a month. We're going to actually stick to the schedule of branch pickup. The first and third Monday of the month will be on the south side. The fourth Monday of the month will be on the north side. We lost one of our great part-time workers, so I'm short one day, and we're trying to adjust to make it where we get the whole town again on Mondays. But for probably the next month or so, until we can make the adjustments, it'll be bi-weekly in the village to pick up the branches as is listed on the village website.
Well, they've done a good job.
Yeah, just we lost one key guy, and it's being down, and at this time we don't want to replace him, but we just can't at this time. And I'd like to thank Roy Strom. I mean, we called for a few dumpsters, this flood thing, and they were there within hours to get the dumpsters out and to help us pick up carpet and flood garbage off the streets. So I really want to thank them for stepping up for us and helping the village. And that's all I have.
Hey, Keith, I also have to add with Strom that I know we threw out a television, and I think it was out there maybe a day or two. They've been very good about when the residents do call them, they're pretty quick about getting rid of stuff. So
yeah, they've switched out five dumpsters for me since this flood, like within days. And when I first called, they had two to us in hours. So it was.
Can I interject on the garbage company?
Yes.
Thank you. The garbage company called and told us that as of Monday, they will be resuming pickup of bulk items. So during this time, the garbage company was not in a position to pick up anything that was not in a designated container or some kind of a garbage container. That's going to be relaxed as of Monday. So just so everybody knows.
Very good.
Then we plan on next week getting to the Legacy Gardening Park to level out the front of the park and make the curb appeal more presentable. The new sign will be in Monday. We hope to have that in next week, and the Butterfly Garden also. That's all I have, President Niedermeyer.
Thank you. And Trustee Burks, is that all? Does that conclude your report as well?
Yes.
Okay, before I move on to old business, I did notice Treasurer Zabinski didn't have a line item here in your report. I know you've been reporting and weighing in throughout most of the meeting, but is there anything specific that you need to report on or would like to report on?
The only thing that I tell all my communities is that, and this is for the public, in these times, we're doing everything we can to help our community, especially for those that have lost their job or have been temporarily furloughed. Before you go in and just stop paying and get frustrated, just call us. So if this is for the community, I can't promise you anything, but we're going to work with you. And all of my towns are this way. And I'm going to continue stressing that we're here to make it better for our community as best we can. Obviously, I can't forgive everything, but I want to do my best to help my community as best I can. So I just wanted to let the community know that, before we go in and have, freaking out over things because you can't pay your water or garbage bill, come and talk to us. Other than that, stay safe and happy and healthy.
Thanks. Moving on. Okay, so old business. Any new business?
Madam President,
Yes.
I do have a couple of things I'd like to say. First is going back to what Clerk Manella reported on. We are opening for business again to the public on June 2nd. We are going to be doing, we're going to have the floors marked at 6-foot markers. We're going to provide face masks for those who don't have them when they enter the building. We're going to have a methodical way of entering and exiting the building so you don't have to come in contact. But during this shutdown, I have to say that in all departments, but the one I'm most closely related with is the ladies at the Village Hall. I have to tell you, there's a lot of things due to the limited scheduling we've had that normally they would be doing for me that I've had to do myself, and I have I've always had respect for them, but I have a whole newfound respect for them. They are incredible workers. They are incredible at their jobs. I want to commend every one of them. And in that same vein, I've been out with the police department. I've been out with the public works. All three departments have performed exemplary. They have been amazing during this. And I just want to, as chief and Keith, if you would please extend my remarks to them, I would appreciate it. And I also wanted to make mention that one of the things we'll be doing is we'll be disinfecting after each day. We were able to purchase, our law firm provided us with money to purchase, this is Tressler and Eric's law firm, gave us a donation to purchase disinfecting machines, these fogging machines. Originally it was going to be to purchase one, but it was enough there for us to purchase two. We purchased one for the police department. They're using it every day on their squad cars after each shift, and we will be using it in the Village Hall after each day. So that concludes what I have to say, but I also want to thank Eric and his law firm for making that donation and enabling us to purchase those machines.
Yes, thank you, Eric.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Public comment?
Okay, again, do you want me to go through just to see if anybody has anything?
Yes, I think it's best to do it that way, Brent.
Okay, so I'll go to Carol Valdez.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Greg.
I'm good, Brent.
Thank you. Ian, do you have anything? I asked to unmute Ian. No. The person logged in as iPad.
This is Clarence. I could hear better on Zoom than I can at the Village Hall when we have the meeting. and there's much more discussion now. I like to have more discussion at the village meetings, just like there is here in Zoom.
Thank you. Okay, the next person I have is Joanne. Joanne, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'd like to talk, Mr. Woods. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Good evening, everybody of the village. How are all of you?
Joanne, I just need you to identify yourself for the record for me.
Yeah, okay. We are the current owners of 8200 Wolf Road.
Got it. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you. My husband and I are kind of new to your community. We bought our home in September. But unknown to you, we've been kind of searching for a long time to be a part of this community. And I can even say that after listening to all of you talk right now, it further shows how much we want to be a part of your community, because you can see how you guys are kind of a family and want to take care of everybody. We researched the area, the Pleasantdale School District, and we knew this was going to be the area we wanted to start our family. So we saved for years for a down payment, and we actually looked for 3 years in Willow Springs before we found our home. So we bought it in September, and we did a ton of upgrades to the inside, and we only moved in at the beginning of March. And then, so I'd like to talk to you about May 17th. I know that we got hit really hard with rain all over the village, and I'd like everyone to be kind of aware what my husband and I went through. On the night of May 17th, like any other homeowner, we were dealing with a pump sump failure in our basement, and we were trying to save some of our personal belongings when our home kind of became the epicenter and a dumping ground of the creek flow from Flag Creek. So I'm just gonna kind of, if you can picture around our home, there's the vale behind us, which was built in 2011, and those homes are set in a higher elevation than us. So what I can only presume is that the water would flow east from those homes. So the creek then crests in our neighbors' homes to the north. And then due to our elevation and the grading of those homes, it flows on a downward slope straight at our house. With such a force that it actually ripped off our backyard fence from concrete posts. Score parking lot, we're so fortunate, and we love being next to this facility, being next to a gym, and knowing Carla. Score parking lot is actually set at a higher elevation than us. And then the pitch is downward to the north. It has no drain tiles or sewer. So all the water from the creek that crested in the Score parking lot flowed straight into our home. The next door neighbor to ours, their elevation is quite higher, and I don't want to quote a number that I can't say for certain, but the creek water comes between our two homes in the front and gathers in the front, in the culverts in the front, and when it returns to the creek, because their elevation is so much higher, that water all comes straight back to the creek through our home. The culvert drain ditch in front of our home and either side of Score are small and blocked. One culvert in front of us, that's in front of us, between us and Score, is 1 inch in width. So all the water that gathered in a pit in the front of our home flowed back straight through our home. And then furthermore, they can't empty back into the creek when the creek has rise so high. So, I mean, basically what I keep on saying is that the water doesn't have any chance to go anywhere but to our house. So on the night of March 17th, and I apologize if I get kind of emotional right now, and I know that some of you who I've talked to know what we've been through. On the night of March 17th, the force of the creek water came so heavily through our two doors. I don't want to say on our first floor, but it's 2 steps down. It flooded the first floor 2 feet.
Oh.
Sorry, I said March, but May 17th. It flooded that 2 feet. The power of the creek water actually collapsed our garage door at the bottom. It buckled it in. It flooded the garage, picking up slabs of granite that me and my husband were racing around the house because we had just redone the kitchen. So we were going to use that granite for his garage to barricade it. And it actually picked the granite up and moved it. It turned our refrigerator over. It destroyed our cabinets in the garage. It took out our furnace and our hot water heater. It took out our air conditioner unit. It busted through a wall separating the garage from the inside of our home, and it came in like a monsoon into the basement, of which we had just come up trying to salvage some of our belongings. So if one of us had been down in the basement when the water started to pour in, we would have drowned. The creek water flooded our basement 8 feet high all the way to the ceiling. It rose so high that it actually ruined the ceiling tiles in our basement and ruined the floor on the first floor above it. As stated prior, it took out the next level and reached 2 feet high, knocking our washer and dryer up and off the ground and destroying all of our belongings on that floor. Then due to the creek water and the way the flow has been directed and pitched straight into our house, it reached all the way up to our front door and seeped in the first floor, that level, destroying our belongings, ruining furniture, ruining the flooring all on that floor, and destroying our kitchen cabinets that were just upgraded prior to us moving in. It was hard to evacuate our home that night because the water was so high, it was up to my waist, and the current was so strong. It was pulling us as we tried to rescue our dogs to get out to our neighbor's home. We even had railroad ties floating around in the water. It picked up all debris and landed in our yard, so we're lucky that that didn't hit us when we evacuated. That night, neighbors in the community reached out to us and that the creek is constantly flooding into our home. They stated specific dates when our home or what they know the area around the house has gone underwater. And unbeknownst to us at the time of the purchase of our home, but after doing extensive researching and talking to others in this beautiful community, the flooding is a recurring problem. From what I gather, the last 10 years, the creek has crested 5 times on this house. May 17th, 2019, October 16th, 2017, August 22nd, 2014, April 18th, 2013, and July 24th, 2010. From what I gather from my research too is that Flag Creek is where multiple village stormwater goes. I have read that there is relief of flooding in Prospect Park, Blue Lake, and I might be wrong on this, and Hudson Park for those communities. My husband and I are just so grateful right now to be alive and that we have each other. We are grateful for the courtesy that the village has showed us during this traumatic event in our lives, and we're grateful that we're a part of this community that we call home. I would like to specifically thank, and I won't name them, but the village workers that came out to our house the next day and thereafter. We know that this is difficult and hard to kind of visualize, but we had 8 feet of muddy water in our basement that took everything. 2 feet of muddy water on that floor that took everything. And we're here tonight because we just want the rest of the village to know, as a whole, to be aware of what my husband and I went through on that Sunday night, the amount of damage it's caused to our home and to our lives, and the massive financial burden that we're now enduring because of what happened. I just wanted the trustees, everybody else to know, I'm just again, like, that we're grateful that who has come out and tried to help us.
Joanne?
Yeah.
My name is Terry Carr. I'm a trustee in the village. I also live right on Flag Creek. I had water right up to my house that night. Thank God I didn't get water in it. I feel so bad for you on what's happened. It picked up 30 and 40-pound boulders in my backyard and moved them 100 feet. So the force of the water was something else. You know, this is a big problem with the Army Corps of Engineers. I think we have to deal with them. Whatever I can do to help, I'm going to be more than glad to do. I feel so bad for you being new in the village and this happening to you. You certainly don't deserve that.
Thank you, Trustee Carr.
Yes, Trustee Burks here. I actually lost my car on that night on Wolf Road. Came around the curve and I was in the creek, and that was it. My car is done. So I feel much luckier that all I lost was the car, and what happened to you is tragic, terrible. And I know anything we can do to help, we'll try to do.
Thank you, Trustee Barks. Right now, my husband and I are just grateful that we both made it out alive that night.
Madam President.
Yes.
Yeah, I was out at this location with Director Grantland and Engineer Dan, and we are working. We're trying to craft a solution for them, something to help them out. I know Public Works was out there to pump the water out of the basement. It was like nothing I've ever seen. I just, my heart is out to these folks here, and we as a village will do, everything that we can do.
Yes. Thank you, Trustee Woods. And yes, Joanne, this is Trustee Nuttermeyer. Thank you for sharing your story, and I'm so sorry that you're going through this. And Administrator Woods, please keep us apprised of what you find out as far as options.
Absolutely will.
I have to say that we're very grateful for Mr. Grantland and Mr. Woods for taking care of us and making us feel like this is the reason why we bought our home inside the village of Willow Springs, and that Dan Lynch is looking into it as well.
Was that it, Joanne?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, we're very sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam President, the next person on the list is Kathy. Kathy, do you have anything?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary, I didn't ask to unmute. If she has anything, she can unmute. Okay. Nina, I sent Nina an invitation to unmute if she has anything.
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nina. Sean? Okay, nothing. Telephone number 308-2712. 630 number. Do you have anything?
Nothing.
Thank you. 708-243, I'm sorry, 708, yeah, 243-6616. Do you have anything?
Negative.
Okay, thank you. Telephone number 708-259-4106. Anything? Okay, moving on. 708-772-0999. Do you have anything?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you. Madam President, that concludes the list.
Thank you, Brent, for going through each of those. And again, thanks everybody for your patience and cooperation as we meet here on Zoom. That concludes public comment. There is no executive session tonight. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion, Moon.
Sounds like we have a motion by trustee Moon. Is there a second?
Second, Kennedy.
Second by trustee Kennedy. And it's my understanding that since we're meeting by Zoom, we have to do a roll call vote.
Correct.
Trustee Burks,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Nettermeyer,
Aye.
Posh,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Carr.
Aye.
That concludes the roll call.
Thank you, Clerk Manella. All ayes. This meeting is adjourned at 8:28.
Thank
Thank you, everybody. I will be ending the meeting, which will kick everybody out.
Okay, stay safe, everyone. Thanks again.
Stay safe.
Thank you.